Welcome to If Numbers Could Talk. My name is KEILYN. If Numbers Could Talk is a part of the Thinkering Group. You can find us over at thinkering.space. You can also find at Thinkering Space the Thinkering Talks podcast, the Exofathom podcast, along with the Plank Talks with Joe. When you get a chance, please check out our merchandise. We have merchandise on our website, thinkering.space, as well as merchandise at teespring.com/thinkering shop. Please visit, grab a t-shirt, grab a mug. We'll appreciate it. And when you do, feel free to let us know that you've decided to become a member of any of our fan clubs. We definitely appreciate all of the support. And thanks for tuning in this evening to If Numbers Could Talk. If Numbers Could Talk, tonight we'll be going over a couple of GOATs, you may want to say. I really wanted to name this episode GOAT Boys. GOAT Boys in the building. GOAT Boys, what you gonna do? But two GOATs in a pocket, or I almost named it two GOAT Boys as well. But two GOATs in the pocket really fit. It was fitting for where we're headed today. And today's episode is about two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Some will say the two greatest quarterbacks of all time. It all depends on who you speak to. Those two gentlemen are one, Joe Montana, and the other, Tom Brady. Now, of course, because Tom Brady is still an active player, there are plenty of people who do not agree. There are plenty of people who will not say this themselves, that Tom Brady is a GOAT or will be a GOAT. However, in the sports world, when you listen to the analysts, you listen to the experts, and anyone who is around, that is not a statement that you do not hear, and that is definitely not something that I think you're going to stop hearing anytime soon. I think you'll understand by the time this entire video is over. Now let's start at the beginning. Joe Montana was drafted in 1979 in the third round. He retired in 1994. He was 6'2", weighed 200 pounds. That is what his listing was. He played for the San Francisco 49ers and played his last two seasons for the Kansas City Chiefs. Tom Brady was drafted in the year 2000 in the sixth round. He is still currently playing in 2020. Tom Brady played for the New England Patriots and is currently playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is listed at 6'4", 225 pounds. Now, I'll get straight to the big good stuff. Let's start up top. So you have Super Bowls. It's always the good stuff, right? Super Bowls. Tom Brady appeared and has appeared to date in 9 Super Bowls, and he won 6 of 9 Super Bowls. Joe Montana went to 4 Super Bowls and won 4 Super Bowls. Joe Montana went to 4 Super Bowls and won 4 Super Bowls. Now, the 3 times that Tom Brady lost, he lost 2 to the Giants and 1 to the Eagles. 2 to the Giants and 1 to the Eagles. Those Giants, if you know about those Giant lost seasons, you don't even have to be a Patriots fan to understand. But there's a strong, strong opinion on Patriots and the Patriots organization and things that have happened over this current era. So just going to go ahead with these stats. Tom Brady has appeared in 17 playoff seasons to achieve those 6 rings and played 41 playoff games so far. Joe Montana in his career went to the playoffs 11 times to get those 4 championships and played 23 playoff games. Joe Montana was inducted into the Hall of Fame in the year of 2000. Tom Brady is still currently playing. Tom Brady has not retired, so there has not been a team to retire his number. I'm sure it'll be the New England Patriots, but who knows what it'll do in Tampa Bay. Joe Montana's number 16 was retired by the San Francisco 49ers. Joe Montana has 2 NFL MVPs, and Tom Brady has 3 NFL MVPs. Tom Brady has 4 Super Bowl MVPs, the other 2 going to Deion Branch and Julian Edelman. Joe Montana has 2 season MVPs, but he also has 3 Super Bowl MVPs. The one he did not get went to, of course, Jerry Rice, the guy who played right there next to him, the guy who made them a good portion of those catches to get to the Super Bowl, if not all the big ones. I didn't watch every game. I didn't really watch any of those games back then. I was a kid. What do you want from me? But or if I was even alive, actually. I think I was. No. Yeah, I think I was alive for maybe 1 or 2 of those. 2 of those, excuse me. So yeah, didn't see any of the 49er Jerry Rice, Joe Montana championships. Playbacks only. But let's continue. Pro Bowls. Joe Montana went to 8 Pro Bowls, while Tom Brady has been to 14 Pro Bowls to date. First team All-Pro selections, 3 apiece. Second team All-Pro selections will be 2 for each Tom Brady and Joe Montana. Joe Montana was the passing touchdown leader 2 years, while Tom Brady was the passing touchdown leader 4 years of his career so far. Tom Brady was the passing yard leader on 2 separate occasions, while Joe Montana had not achieved leading the league in passing yards, not once in his career. But let's talk about leading the league in completion percentage. Joe Montana led the league in completion percentage 5 times in his career. Tom Brady has only led the league in completion percentage 1 time his entire career. Quarterback rating leaders. The quarterback rating leader, the highest rated quarterback in a season. Both of these gentlemen in 2 separate seasons were considered the highest rated quarterback in the NFL. Tom Brady has played 297 games and started 295 of those 297 games. Joe Montana has played or did play 192 NFL games and started 164 NFL games. But let's also look at the wins, right? Wins matter. So let's look at wins as a starter, and then let's look at losses as a starter. When these gentlemen start the game, just know that you're in a good place when this guy's on, either one of these gentlemen are on your team. Tom Brady has 226 wins to date as a starter, while only having 69 losses as an NFL starter. Joe Montana had 117 wins, 117 victories as an NFL starting quarterback, and only took 47 losses as a starting NFL quarterback. Those are impressive numbers for both guys. And neither of these gentlemen ever allowed another quarterback to put their team in a position to finish with a tie when they were the starting quarterback and or even the backup quarterback. But I don't think either of these guys ever played legitimate backup. Win percentages. Now, this was amazing to me. Joe Montana has a 71% win percentage rate in his career. He won 71% of the games he was in. Tom Brady, to date, continuing that trend, has 77% of wins in his games. If Tom Brady is playing on your team, there's a 77% chance you will win. Now, looking at some of the things that are going on now and the teams he's on and how that's moving in 2020, that's impressive to still look at, 77%. I don't think they'll get him below 75% if they were to have terrible seasons for the duration of his contract. And they're not going to have that terrible of seasons for the duration of his contract. Let's just look at it for what it is. But attempts, this is where the arm starts to go. This is where you wonder how many years can a guy play quarterback specifically. You wonder how many downs is he really worth, right? Well, there was one statistic that I could not per se find for Joe Montana, and it bothered me a bit. I really wanted to know this, and I searched high and low. There was no place that had this, and I'm guessing it clearly was not a statistic at the time during his career. And that statistic is snaps. How many snaps? Now, Tom Brady to date has taken about 9,534 snaps in his career. 9,534 snaps in his career. Tom Brady also has 6,684 pass attempts. That doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. I wrote this backwards. Tom Brady has 6,684 pass completions. 6,684 pass completions with 10,462 attempts on his career for a total of 64% pass completion rate for Tom Brady. Joe Montana has 5,391 pass attempts in his career with 3,400 completions exactly for Joe Montana's career, giving him 63% completion rate for his career, a 63% completion rate. It's, again, amazing to hear these numbers and look and say, wow. When people don't like a guy, sometimes you have to realize it's not because they're not a good player. It's not because of what they hear the media say. It's because they're not on their team. I've heard a lot of guys talk down on both of these quarterbacks, and I'm not going to go too far into that. But these numbers, these statistics, these facts, these things that they accomplished and that are etched in stone and put somewhere for someone else to go and find and say, hey, look what this guy did. Those things are not going to go away. And because of that, let's get to the passing yards that they achieved. Joe Montana in his career had 40,551 passing yards, while Tom Brady had a total of 77,871 passing yards to date. These guys went to work. And again, as quarterbacks, trust me, this isn't all going to be roses for them. They're going to get hit, and I will let you know how many times they got put on the ground. But as a quarterback in the National Football League, you think to yourself, these guys have to have nerves of steel. They have to know what everyone on that, and a severe amount of focus without me going too much into detail. They have to have a severe amount of focus. Don't believe me? Let me explain it a little more. Joe Montana threw 273 touchdown passes in his career, while Tom Brady has thrown to date 569 touchdown passes. 569 touchdown passes for Tom Brady, 273 touchdown passes for Joe Montana. Now, I'm sure Tom Brady will have 570 touchdown passes at minimum by the end of this week. He's still playing. What do you want? However, Tom Brady has also thrown 190 interceptions in his career. Joe Montana has thrown, or did throw in his career, 139 interceptions. But yards per attempt is also a thing. So how many yards for every attempt did these gentlemen make? How many yards were brung together or accumulated, right? Average, of course. Joe Montana averaged 7.5 yards for every ball he threw. Tom Brady has averaged 7.4 yards for every ball he's thrown. But completion yards are different, right? So they throw the ball, whether it's caught or not, 7.4 yards on average for Tom, 7.5 yards on average for Joe Montana. But on completions for Joe Montana, it is 11.9 yards. So basically 12 yards every time someone caught the ball that Joe Montana threw. And for Tom Brady, it's pretty equivalent. It's right behind it. 11.7 yards per completion for Tom Brady. Basically bringing him up to 12 as well, if we're rounding. Again, these are 73 and 74% completion passers. It's ridiculous to think that guys say that he's not the greatest, and I'm gonna have to go look at a couple of other guys. I had to research some other guys to make sure that I was using the right two guys, and I promise I did. But I really am gonna go do a little more work because I'm trying to figure out what other guys are talking about when they don't put these two guys as their top two. And again, I'm open to all commentary and suggestions. So I'm going to take a small break here. And we have a comment in the comment section from Miss Kimmy Johnson. She's letting us know that Brett Favre and Aaron, who? The Packer guy? Aaron Rodgers? Brett Favre, they're 1-2. This isn't an emotional podcast. I can't do this with you. Thanks for the comment. I appreciate you. So here we have yards averaged. So again, yards per completion, 11.7 for every ball caught from Tom Brady and 11.9 for every ball caught from Joe Montana. Also, to comment again on Miss Johnson, I will look into Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers for you. I'm not one of those people who are going to not look into that. I'll put their numbers up against them. Maybe I'll get another episode in because of it. Yards on average. Yards averaged. Now, again, this was a little interesting to me because I am almost sure if you look at the averages for these two gentlemen, they averaged more than, for Tom Brady, 262.2 yards per game, and for Joe Montana, 211.2 yards per game. But these are averages when you're considering bad games, good games. Pretty sure both of these gentlemen were on teams that sometimes got blown out. They played extensive careers, but they also achieved a lot. To achieve things, you're going to fail sometimes. It just is what it is. You don't achieve anything, you will not be successful unless you take a couple of losses on your way there. So quarterback ratings will explain to you that these gentlemen, even in their losses, were great. Joe Montana has a lifetime quarterback rating of 93.2, while Tom Brady has a lifetime quarterback rating of 97.0. 97.0. But this is where it gets interesting to me, right? So you have things like comebacks, game-winning drives. These are the things that quarterbacks are judged on. These are the things that your quarterbacks are basically paid to do. People, not being funny, but you don't put in the backup. It's not like baseball where you're holding your closer to the end of the game, right? In football, your best guy is on the field the entire game when you're on that side of the ball. So if your best guy is your quarterback, he's not coming off the field. You could be up by 13 touchdowns. He's not coming off the field if that game matters. It's a little weird. It's a lot different from most sports, but football is not one of those sports where you'll see the best guy come off whether you're winning or losing. He's going to be on that field, and the camera's going to be zooming into his face, whether it's a smile or frown. But let's talk about comeback games. Joe Montana in his career had 26 comeback games and a total of 28 game-winning drives for Joe Montana. For Joe Montana, 26 comebacks and 28 game-winning drives. For Tom Brady, who's still playing and played 6 years longer than Joe Montana did so far, Tom Brady has 38 comeback games. 38 comeback games, with 47 game-winning drives to match. 47 game-winning drives for Tom Brady. But comebacks, game-winning drives, that's not stopping you from getting hit. It's not stopping from a little bit of grass getting shoved into your helmet when you hit that ground. Here's some proof on that. Tom Brady was sacked in his career to date. He'll probably get sacked a few more times coming. Tampa. Tom Brady has been sacked 516 times in his NFL career. 516 times in his NFL career. Joe Montana was sacked 313 times in his NFL career. These guys got hit. There's always there's a lot of banter, I'll call it, about how quarterbacks are the prima donnas and the divas, They clearly get hit just as much as anyone else. And if these are your best two quarterbacks, greatest quarterbacks of all time, the GOATs, two GOATs in a pocket, and they got hit 516 and 313 times, that is what? 829 sacks on your two greatest quarterbacks of all time. I would hate to see how many times the worst quarterbacks of all time have gotten hit, aside from the fact that they may not have been on the field, but that's another conversation. I would like to see, as far as their involvement, efficiency-wise, how many times have they gotten hit? Yards lost. With 516 sacks, Tom Brady has lost 3,232 yards to date. And with 313 sacks, Joe Montana has lost 2,000, or did lose in his career, 2,095 yards behind the line of scrimmage for both of these gentlemen. But again, they're not mobile guys. Their job isn't to rush. In fact, Tom Brady only has, Tom Brady only has 25 rushing touchdowns, 1,044 rushing yards, and has only rushed 626 times in his career. While Joe Montana has 20 rushing touchdowns, a total of 1,676 rushing yards, and Joe Montana had 457 rushes in his NFL career. So again, these are not rushers. These guys do not run. That's not their job. What they do is they throw. Okay? So now that we know these guys throw, how many first downs? Again, first downs is another one of those stats that for Joe there weren't as many references. I'm thinking again because of the time frame. Joe Montana retired the same year, was inducted into the Hall of Fame, not even retired. Joe Montana was inducted into the Hall of Fame the same year that Tom Brady was drafted, which was a whole 6 years after Joe Montana had retired. So there weren't, unfortunately, a lot of first down statistics for Joe Montana. Joe Montana, from what I was able to find, threw for 168 first downs in one season. I'm just going to leave it at that. He threw for 168 first downs in one season. I believe that was 1984. Tom Brady to date has thrown for 3,918 first downs. 3,918 first downs. Neither of these guys' jobs were to move about. Their job is to throw the ball, get it to the right guy so that you can get first downs and or touchdowns. What about the longest pass? Now, these are quarterbacks, so we definitely want to know what's the longest ball they've thrown, right? Well, for Joe Montana, pretty sure this was a pass to Jerry Rice. I don't even really have to question it. It was a 96-yard pass. 96-yard throw for Joe Montana. That is his longest of his career. Whereas with Tom Brady, I believe this, I'm just going to ballpark it here. This pass was either to Randy Moss or maybe Gronk. This might have been a Gronk pass. But Tom Brady's longest pass on paper is 99 yards, which means they were on the 1 yard line and he threw the joint, and 99 yards was his longest pass. And let's also be honest, these could be screen passes that literally just ran all the way to the end zone from the other end. They don't have to be bombs. Nobody's saying that they threw for 99 yards, like the ball went traveled 99 yards from the throw, but the play that was a passing play went for 99 and 96 yards. Now let's also go and look at the records. Now we've talked about snaps. We've talked about all kinds of things, interceptions, touchdowns thrown, yards, quarterback ratings. I really wanted to stick to I don't want to say the niche statistics, but the statistics that show you how great these guys were, not just harp on, oh, he got this many yards and this played here and this year, as I do with a lot of these other comparisons. In fact, the last thing I'll give you as far as yards will be playoff yards. These guys played a lot of playoff games. These guys had a lot of camera time, as I'll call it. Playoff yards, Joe Montana to achieve his 4 Super Bowls, not counting the losses, but in total to achieve 4 Super Bowls in the playoffs, he had 5,772 yards. Playoffs for Tom Brady, playoff yards, 6 championships to date, 11 appearances. Excuse me. Make sure I get 17 appearances. I apologize. Tom Brady, playoff yards, 11,388 yards. Now, both of these are amazing players, great players. There's so much more information to be touted, talked about, pushed forward on these gentlemen. I encourage you to look into it. Believe me, they will come up in future episodes because there was just that much. And I didn't want to cram it all in. It was so much just now, but I'm not done. Joe Montana's always talked about as such a great quarterback. And I agree from what I've seen, not just on paper, but in highlights, right? Same for Tom Brady. But I learned something while researching this about Tom Brady specifically. Tom Brady currently has 40, maybe even 50 plus active records that he has either created, set, or broken. 40 plus, maybe 50 plus. I went 40 because I want to say mine around 48, 49. I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And there were still a few left to count. So it could really be around 54, 56, something like that. But 40 active, 40 of them are active. Most wins as a 40-year-old, MVP as a 40-year-old, those kind of things. And most games played it's amazing. It was really crazy. But you go and you look at some of those statistics. Only player to throw for 300 plus yards in 3 consecutive years. And I asked myself, how do you not, even if he wasn't on your team, how do you not at least stop and look at that and say like, okay, wait, there's something to say here. Now I feel like I can say that no matter who my favorite team is, simply because I'm going to do that continuously. I love sports. I'm going to champion on anyone who wins. In my comment section, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers were brung up. I'll look into them a little more. They might get their very own episode because I love to look at these facts and then think back to, or even here in the future, after I go through and learn and absorb all of this information, put it on paper and distribute it to you guys, right? I still have to be in those chats with everyone else, just like you guys do. You know, the internet doesn't disappear for me. And I just watch and I hear what people say, and I'm like, you don't know how to find that information. It's right there. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you all. And just know that I absolutely enjoy doing this. I absolutely enjoy looking through this stuff and getting the comments and getting some of the feedback that I get and I've received over the time. So I appreciate you all. And remember, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones. Visit us over at thinkering.space, www.thinkering.space. Check out our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram for all of our shows, the Exofathom, If Numbers Could Talk, the Thinkering Talks, Plank Talks with Joe, and Screen Time Continuum, which myself and Nick has started recently. I appreciate you again. Tune in, subscribe. And by all means, shoot me an email, ifnumberscouldtalk@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the shows. Give me some ideas that you might want to hear me research and talk about. And over at thinkering.space, drop us some comments on what you think of the site, what you think of our merch, and purchase some merch if you would like. You can let us know anything you think about the site or the merch at dive@thinkering.space, excuse me. And I really appreciate you guys. Again, have a great night. Okay, you're still looking at me. So I know I said have a great night, and that was a little preemptive of me, but I really appreciate you. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Later, guys.